And joining us now, the chair of the National Black Police Association, Sonia Pruitt. Sonia, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
So your organization is dedicated to, quote, promoting justice, fairness, and effectiveness in law enforcement. We just heard from the mayor of Minneapolis. He wants the officer who knelt on George Floyd's neck to be arrested and charged. Do you agree with him?
Absolutely.
The National Black Police Association represents 80,000 black officers in the U.S., Canada, and the United Kingdom. What advice are you giving your officers at this point, and what do you think can be done to bridge the trust gap in communities after an incident like this?
If you're speaking in terms of how do we navigate this, well, we're not, this is not new for us. We have been speaking out against these kinds of atrocities and abuses and trauma since 1972 as an organization. But any black police officer can tell you that working as an officer on the inside of a police department is much different than what citizens might see on the outside. So we have to deal with the duality of being black, as well as making sure that we enforce the Constitution and the law in a fair and equitable manner.
Right, black, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
And the way to heal this gap is by doing just that. You know, everybody deserves to be treated with humanity and dignity and respect. And in the case of Mr. Floyd, none of that happened.
Black and blue at the same time is something you just kind of addressed there. In your organization's statement on George Floyd's death, you say, quote, let's speak truths. In America, it's clear that the humanity of black people appears invisible to law enforcement. And that's a rather bold statement. Why did you feel that it was necessary to come out so forcefully?
Listen, this has been happening for far too long, far too much. And, you know, it's funny because although Mr. Floyd's death is a tragedy, it highlights what I call the lying eyes, that you can actually see this happen in front of you. It's almost unbelievable, but there's going to be a faction of the population, especially law enforcement, that's going to try to kind of either minimize it or say we didn't see what we saw. And so when I talk about black people being transparent, I love what the mayor says about 400 years of this trauma. We've been invisible since our ancestors were brought to these shores by force. And so the system of law enforcement was created to keep us in place. And I always say that black officers really, the career path of being a law enforcement officer was not made for us, but we're really perfect at it because we live in so many different worlds. We can navigate wherever we go because of our experiences. And so we are a necessary part of police forces. And so we can explain to you and to people who are curious what it's like for us to be that duality.
And lastly, you know, we seem to have this conversation way too often. And each time we seem to ask the same questions. Will this be the turning point? Will it get better? What definitive action do you think that elected leaders should be taking? And are some of the things that we're seeing, like chokeholds and knees pressed down against necks, are these things that are actually taught in police academies?
Listen, I think that our police academies generally, and this is really kind of anecdotally because I don't know what every police academy does, but I think in generally that police academies teach the right things. Training goes only as far as the person who's being trained wants to receive it, just like policy. So despite, I'm sure, the officer knowing that pressing down on someone's neck could cause injury, he continued to do it for 5 minutes. That's a long time. And how do you untrain somebody to have that thought process? I would like to know what was going through his mind as this person gasped for air, said that he could not breathe, and was afraid that he was going to be killed and screaming for his mother. So training is only as useful as if you really, really invested in it and that you know why and that you're willing to carry forth the mission with your training and using the policy that you've been taught.
Sonia Pruitt, chair of the National Black Police Association, we thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.